Hello everyone and welcome back to my layout. So first and foremost, Happy New Year everybody. This will be the first layout update for 2023 and there's been lots happening. There's been a bunch of changes, some additions, some new purchases. So I'll just give you a little bit of a roadmap as to how this layout update is going to pan out. I'm going to show you kind of the changes to the existing layout. Then I'm going to show you some of the new purchases that I've made over the last few months, and then we'll see what's new and exciting here on the layout. So I'm not going to bore you with a very long introduction, we'll just hop right into it. So you'll have to excuse my hand bombing here for the next few seconds, but what you're looking at is where the lumber yard used to be. And now if you remember from my last layout update, I had discussed some changes and how some of the industries would be kind of rotating around the layout. So now the lumber yard no longer exists here. It's actually a transload facility. So this will be what I call Northern Transload. Keep the name fairly simple, but as you can tell, it's just going to take a large variety of covered hoppers, tank cars, thinking of maybe even like a team track dock here so that you can unload box cars, etc. So quite a diverse industry for the upper level. It'll give trains and different rolling stock a place to go without there being a specific industry. So I think overall that'll be a good addition there, and we'll move over to some of the other changes. So an area that hasn't changed yet but will change shortly, given that the lumber yard is no longer there, is this section right here. Before, this was kind of a maintenance away engine storage track. What's going to end up happening now is I'm probably going to remove this track here, the inner most track. This one will stay here. This will be like a lumber transload facility where some of the smaller mills truck in the lumber and load it for shipment by rail. And then this track here will actually become a through track, which will join in to the main line closer to the swing bridge there. And what that's going to allow me to do is use this as the main line now. Just in the front here will be the main line. So what my plan is with that is to have a station platform right in the foreground where passenger trains can pull into the yard. And then there's some other plans for this yard, which I'll go into a little bit later on in this video. So another change that I made to the track plan here is right in the main town, or where it's eventually going to be. And while that plan hasn't really changed, I decided to go ahead and install a new industrial park. And this goes right along with some of the major changes to the layout and the track work. So as you can see, there's a siding right in the foreground there. There's going to be two industries along the backdrop served by a single track to add some switching variety. And then as we pan around here, you'll see the siding. The siding's quite short and it connects into the main line there. And then there's two spurs. There will be a propane dealer for that kind of fits along with the whole idea of the town. And then there is another track that loops around as it did before when I just had the single industry in there where those box cars are. And that will be some sort of warehouse industry, manufacturing type deal. So lots of switching variety in this little area. It'll require trains to tie up the main line, as the siding is quite short, but it will definitely add some diversity to the operation. So super excited about that. I think this turned out much better than I had anticipated. And like I said, there'll still be a bit of a town here, but probably more along the lines of some more industrial complexes rather than an actual cityscape. All right, so we'll go ahead here and take a look at some of my recent purchases. And wow, there was a lot the last few months. A lot of high-profile releases from a lot of our main manufacturers, primarily the CN Canadian -9. So over the last few months, we saw some releases from Athearn, Skill Trains, a new manufacturer, Aurora, and super excited to have received some of these models. So the first three you're going to see here are the Scale Trains version of the CN-9. They come with the CN Noodle with website scheme, as well as a little Illinois Central reporting mark below. These are all in the 26 and 2700 series. Few issues with these. Skill Trains has decided to remedy that by sending us more locomotives, which is great news. But and I'm definitely not complaining about that. So super happy with those models. Next, you'll see the Athearn Genesis versions, and those are the earlier versions, which are in the 2600 and 2500 series. These do not come with marker lights, and they come in just the CN noodle paint. So just a few different variations from the Scale Trains versions, which is a neat thing to replicate here on the layout. Next, coming across the camera is going to be a new manufacturer, Aurora Miniatures, and some highly anticipated locomotives, the GMD SD60F. So I got one here in the North American paint, number 5537, and one in the Draper Taper or Zebra Stripes, number 5535. Both these locomotives I shot shortly before they were scrapped, so super thrilled to have those in HO scale. And then lastly, we have Scale Trains locomotives. These are the ES44 ACs. We have the Strathcona Horse Canadian Pacific version in number 8939, as well as a City Rail Leaser number 1209. Awesome models. I've had no issues with these. The detail is phenomenal on the Scale Trains models. No complaints. Next across the screen is going to be the Atlas Master TTX boxcars. Another highly anticipated model. We have not seen this variation of the High Cube 60-foot boxcar yet. So super impressed with those. And then lastly, we have a custom project that I just finished, which is rolling in the middle of the screen now. This is a British Columbia or BC Rail caboose in the dark green. BC Rail purchased 6 of those for maintenance of weight. And then lastly, we have the CN, same style caboose. Both of these are tangent models. The CN is a more modern version, which is still running today. Well, in fact, both these cabooses are still running today for pushing service. So overall, super happy with all the locomotives that I recently purchased and some of the other rail cars. It's been an expensive couple months, to say the least, but unprecedented times, certainly for us Canadian modelers, because we are simply not used to having this many models with Canadian prototype detail, etc., available to us. All right, so now for the real big changes. Like I was mentioning earlier, lots of industries moving around the layout to better suit operations, and what you're looking at here is what used to be the pulp mill. So the pulp mill is now out of there, as I had mentioned in the last layout update, and I have actually moved it to the end of the branch line. But there's a lot more going on over there, so let's get the tripod over there and I'll show you what's new. So as mentioned, the pulp mill is now out of there, and one of the biggest changes to the branch line is the fact that I have now added a second level. So this is a huge addition to the layout, one that I had never originally planned for, one that I was pretty set against ever going forward with, just because of the windows and then the extra bench work and the fact that I had the layout so far along that to add all the additional construction and the dust, etc. But long story short, I made the decision to go ahead with this, and I'm glad I did. There's a lot more operation that is going to come out of this upper level branch line, and yeah, just overall super excited with this new addition, and happy to see where operations will go from here. So I'll go ahead, remove the camera from the tripod, and kind of show you what I have planned and what the track's going to look like for this area. So I'm going to go ahead and freehand it here while I describe kind of the track plan and what I have planned for the upper level branch. Over there is the switch. That switch is not new. It's the same switch that came off the main line into the pulp mill that once was here. Now it's the upper level branch line. So the track comes right along the fascia here. In the background is going to be a lot of scenery, a lot of hills, trees, etc. I may go ahead and do like a little rock quarry in there for ballast hoppers, etc. It won't be a huge industry by any means, and I think it'll fit well in this area. In any case, the main line for the branch swings wide here, and then you can see it does a series of S-curves through this whole stretch. This is all going to be scenic running. My idea is up against the wall or the backdrop in the windows is going to be like a kind of a hillside, lots of trees, and then on the fascia side of the main line is going to be kind of a really shallow creek to make it look like the track had to meander around the geography. And then the track finally straightens out here as we come into town. On the left-hand side is our first industry. That's going to be a little feed mill that'll service 2 cars maximum. And then we roll into town here. This town is going to be very much like a northern British Columbia kind of a feel. Rural, really rural town that's basically supported by the industry. So going to have a town here, the grade crossing here. And then we come up to our next industry, which is the propane dealer. That'll service 1 car. And then the main industry, or the main means of survival for this town, is going to be the lumber mill. So the first track on the left there are the the log cars that will get unloaded. As my camera's out of focus here. There's the main line, as well as a siding for the train to run around. Right on the edge here is going to be for wood chip loads, and then way in the back corner is going to be where the lumber or the center beams are loaded, and in the middle here I plan on using kind of the Walters kit so it kind of flows with the log debarker and the mill and wood chip loader, etc. And then it just dead ends at the end here, and that's just enough lead for about 3 locomotives, but in most cases I only foresee 2 locomotives coming down here. Overall, it's going to be a really fun little area to switch. I think it's super simple, but also complex in its own sense, where you're not working with a lot of room, so you're going to have to perform a lot of different maneuvers in order to spot the cars in their correct positions. And overall, I think this whole area is going to be just an awesome addition to the layout. So looking forward to moving forward with that. So another area on the layout that has changed, and this goes right along with the new industrial park as well as the upper level branch line. I really kind of refocused my layout into the lumber and pulp industry. Obviously these are large industries, great diverse group of rail cars that are required to service these industries. So with the pulp mill being removed from the upper level, I decided to move it here, and this is the very end of the branch line. It was the original location of the industrial park, which is now in the main kind of area of the layout. So this is the new pulp mill, and it works out way better in this area. There's a lot more space here, and really I was able to kind of capture that feel of the pulp mill in terms of the track arrangements and the switching that's going to need to be performed. So let's move it just a little bit closer here, and I'll kind of show you what the switching layout looks like and where all the cars are going to go. So to give myself just a little extra room, I went ahead and added just a little lip, another 3 inches off of the fascia. It's not completely done yet. I still got to paint it black and kind of finish it off a little bit better, but this mainly just allows kind of an extra safeguard in case a rail car or locomotive derails. This will hopefully catch it. So I added that because, as you can see, the existing bench work only went to right here, and that track is basically on the edge. So in any case, the track layout here looks much different from where it was before. These are kind of my arrival departure tracks because this will be serviced by its own switcher. So the road crew will come in, drop off cars, pick up cars, and then someone will be left to switch this mill independently. So arrival departure, these are kind of the chip track lead, as well as another little storage track. These are the chip unloading tracks. So right at the end there, where the turnout is, down on this end, is where the rotary dumper will be. One track will be for loads, and then one will swap. One will be for the empties, where the empties end up after they do the rotary dump. Over here is going to be the finished pulp track, pulp and paper track, so box cars in there. This is just a little chemical track here that'll take a tank car. And then at the far ends, my pointer finger here, this will be for dry chemicals, so powders, so you'll get some covered hopper and different phosphate cars here. And then these two tracks in here will be more chemical tracks where lots more tank cars go. So it really captures the whole operation behind pulp and paper manufacturing. Tons of different cars, tons of different chemicals and different products that are involved, that are both involved in the process of making paper, but also delivered by rail. So overall, I'm super happy with the way this industry turned out, and it's going to be another fun one to switch. Empty right now, unfortunately, because of the construction of the upper level. I didn't want to damage anything. But I've already switched it a few times and filled it up with cars, and I'm glad I moved the pulp mill here. It just works way better. All right, last but not least, one of the projects that I most dreaded for my layout is this room, and I'm happy to say that it is finally complete. It's kind of hard to, it's kind of small in here, so it's hard to get a real full concept of what it looks like. But the drywall is now on. It's now painted. I went ahead and mudded some of the joints in the drywall, but I decided to only finish half of that because it wasn't going to really add to the value of this room anyway. So I drywalled up top there, all the way around. It's not perfect by any means, but I got it to a point where now this room can be better temperature controlled, and the main reason for that was staging. So there's a helix, 2 loops, and then I just started the bench work for the staging yard. And this will be a reverse loop staging yard, which will come out to about here, which is basically right in line with the doorway. The first part of the loop will exit through the main layout room through that hole, and then we'll rejoin into the main line through that hole there. I plan to have about 6 or 7 reverse loop staging tracks in total, and the widest radius that I can go is 48 inches. So there's going to be quite a lot of storage capacity in here, which is great because it'll declutter my layout and also free up a bunch of space to properly switch the yards and industries, etc. So that's basically it. I'm just happy I finished this room and got it to a point where now I can start building the staging yard, and that's basically it. So there will definitely be more to come on this project in the near future. Well, everyone, that's kind of the crash course on what's been going on in the layout here the last few months. A ton of changes, a lot of exciting new projects, and a lot of progress made here in the last little bit, and I'm super excited for that. I've had a lot of help from some good friends that are excited about these projects too, and excited to finally see them come to fruition. So super grateful for their help. While I have you here, just want to talk about some of the other projects that are going on in the backgrounds. Now, some of you may remember from my last layout update, I had discussed a Montana Rail Link video series, and that is still in the works. It's taking me quite a bit longer to start rolling out that video series. Some of you may have already seen the Montana Rail Link trailer that I released. That kind of got me into the swing of things and finishing some video editing, etc. Unfortunately, between my 2 trips to Montana, I had actually bought a new camera. And while it doesn't seem like a big deal, my new camera is quite a step up from my old camera. It's a 4K, shoots 60 frames a second, so it's noticeably different from the original 1080p camera that I shot with. And just quite frankly, the videos don't jive well together. You can it just doesn't look good, doesn't present well. So I've had to kind of delay releasing that video series. I do have another trip planned to Montana here to kind of capture the last of it. As some of you may know, it just sold the other day. So in any case, I plan to wrap up the video series after my next trip there. I'm going to be reshooting a bunch of things, and then I'll be able to present you with the final product. So overall, I think this video series is going to be worth waiting for. I'm excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. In addition to the Montana Rail Link video series, I've also been working on some other videos, which are mainly trackside videos. So I've been out and about filming some different railroads. I have a few more trips planned here, one coming up this weekend in Oregon, so hopefully I'll get some cool footage to share with you there. That'll all come in due time. Video editing, unfortunately, takes quite a bit of time, and there was a couple issues with the video editing on the Montana Rail Link series, including one of my larger videos being completed altogether after my computer crash. So that's either here nor there, just one of those things that I have to deal with and that I've had to work through in completing this video series. So in any case, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more on this layout, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a good day.